Today is Juneteenth, freedom that came late and came anyway. My guest knows that kind of freedom. Cora is a philanthropist and a member of the prominent Black family of Dallas, and a double-credentialed human resources professional. Polished, accomplished, and behind it all, she's carried things most people never knew. While she was serving everyone around her, she was quietly slaying her own dragons. I am JoDee Neil, a former prosecutor, a survivor, and the author of Outcry Witness. This is Outcry Witness Unspoken, where we say what the system won't. This episode is about survival while serving, what it costs to keep giving while you're still healing. Cora, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. What a great intro.
I'm so happy to have you here. I've just always adored you as a person. I mean, your energy is just infectious in the best way.
Thank you so much. Listen, I try to show up the best way I can, and you have been a part of several of my communities throughout the years, and so I'm happy we're doing this.
Yay!
I'm happy we're doing this.
Well, okay, so let's start from the beginning. You are a double-credentialed HR professional.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so-
yes, ma'am. HR has been my passion. I've been in it, let's see, trying not to age myself, but let's see, about 15 years now. Yeah.
15 years. So let me just ask you, what is the one thing about human resources you wish lawyers knew?
The one thing that I wish that lawyers knew about human resources is that we come much more equipped than you think. And we are your partners in all of this, and not an adversary or someone that you have to console or push to the side. Let's all meet at that table together.
Fair.
We'll get more done. And the reality is, folks in my position as an HR professional, we know the employees and the operations of the business a lot better. We know people's families. We know what their struggles are, their everyday struggles, because we're looking at things like attendance. Oh, those tardies tell a story. That could be health issues. That could be something that they're struggling with in their personal lives. So even when I have someone on my desk with a disciplinary action that is going to be taken by their management, I take a moment and I say, let me do a wellness check. Let me really check in and see what's going on, see what's happening. And that alleviates so much.
Yeah.
And I would love to debunk the absolute lie that HR is only to protect the company.
Yeah, that's actually the lawyers who do that.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
what you've described, it sounds to me like you're on the inside really trying to be an advocate for the employees, whereas the lawyers tend to, I call it the double down Darvo defense.
Oh, 1000%.
They come in and they just say, nope, we're shutting down. We're going to blame the victim. You know, and they really create a lot of liability, in my opinion, for the company. Am I wrong?
Oh, no, you're not wrong at all. It depends on what environment that you're in, what sort of atmosphere, what sort of industry. But overall, it can be very disjointed with that relationship. And I think if we come together and have that human side, because an HR professional is always going to come with that, the real human side of things, and say, hey, did you know that this employee was actually struggling with a terminal illness? And they just wanted to keep their mind off of things. Did you know that they actually had a really rough car accident? Did you know? Did you know? So we're on boots on the ground.
Yeah.
We're in the field, and that's where I think that opinion should be valued and really be cherished.
Yeah.
Because I absolutely love advocating for employees. And maybe that's just because of my past employment experiences. I'm very much so the type that I want to be the change I want to see. And as cliche as that sounds, it's really important every day that I wake up and go to work. And especially previously when I was consulting, that you've got to have that battery in your back.
Yeah, yeah. I love what you said. And I don't think it is cliche. It needs to be more cliche. It needs to be a mantra that we all wake up and say, be the change. We've got a lot of darkness out there.
A
And
lot of darkness.
you and I have both, you do a lot of philanthropy, and we've talked about your service background. There's only so far you can take it as one person.
Oh my goodness. When I tell you we can't do anything alone, we
Yeah.
can't do anything alone. And I am one of those HR professionals that says right is right and wrong is wrong. And the cool thing about that is when you advocate for that, that is the best thing for the business. That's the best learning experience for the leader. That is the most coachable. That's when I'm actually able to lean into coaching.
Yeah.
And I'm also able to support the employee. And hey, the more conflict resolutions I do, for example, conflict resolutions can go up. That means grievances, complaints, those sorts of things are down.
Right.
I would much rather mediate a conversation than deal with, I need to speak with my attorney. I need to speak with my attorney. I need to do these things, or I need to protect myself because no one here is advocating for me.
Yeah.
So I've had plenty of employees throughout my experience realize, oh, I'm not the villain. Cora's not the villain. HR is not the villain. They actually are very helpful.
I can't tell you how refreshing it is to hear you share this, because, I've done some plaintiff side employment cases, and I've just seen so many really, really good people be cast out like they're just disposable. And it's broken my heart so much that I've completely changed my business model, and I'm consulting now. And I so wish that I could clone you. And install a Cora in every business, because people would be so much better cared for if your model was applied widely.
I would love to see it. And look, I always say that men seem to have conferences and women are very much so reach one, teach one.
Yeah.
And I say, well, then we're going to have to do both, because there are men and women in HR. And I was like, whether we need the conferences or the reach one, teach one, I would love to duplicate what I do in my perspective and share my tools with every employer.
Yeah.
With every employer, and even growing up, seeing my parents run a business, and now my brother, Trey, has taken over. I love it when I get calls from them asking, how should we deal with this? What should we do? And shout out to Lorene Smith, my mentor, that works for the family business, that has that same mentality that I do.
Yeah.
Because there's personnel rules, there's code of conduct, there's all of these documents, the employee handbook that you're supposed to go off of. That's not the whole story.
Yeah.
And there's so much that's left up to interpretation that you have to have someone like me in there to say, okay, yeah, there may be some things that we have to have a disciplinary action. There may be some things that are going to feel uncomfortable, but let's power through. And then on the back end, let's make sure that employee has the resources that they need.
Yeah. So you're really looking to repair the relationship and de-escalate conflict so that you can keep the employee whenever possible.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's what we're doing in employee relations. We don't want to get to the point of having to have those investigations, and it can feel very invasive for employees. You can run into quite a bit of dishonesty just because of the lack of trust. And let's talk about the fear of retaliation.
Yeah. Oh, that's as I'm researching this business model, figuring out what to do, retaliation is almost always next to a sexual harassment complaint in the workplace.
Absolutely.
And that's really what, as a lawyer, I'm like, that we can control, because that is what's getting the companies into really hot water from a liability standpoint.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you can't control necessarily the 38 million verbal sexual harassment events that take place every year, according to the Centers for Disease Control.
Yeah.
But you can control the way your organization responds.
Yes.
How do you deal with retaliation?
Thankfully, I have a no tolerance policy for it. I personally have a no tolerance policy. If that means this environment is not for you, because I've had situations where, look, we all have different backgrounds. We all come from different places. We have different life experiences, and that's what makes us unique. However, when you bring some toxic things that you've learned in your past, when it's, oh, well, I'm from the Northeast and we just talk rap. I'm from Boston and we use F-bombs. We say these things. Excuse me. No, no. So we are not going to allow you to sit there and yell at someone in a meeting.
Wow.
We're not demeaning people in that way. And 9 times out of 10, there's a longer, bigger history there. And that was feeling way too comfortable outside of the realm of professionalism. And it just popped out.
Whew. You explained that very diplomatically. That is an HR professional. So, oh my goodness, I could talk to you about HR all day, but I mean, who'd have thought? Your career in HR, though, this is about so much more than a workplace for you.
For sure.
You received your credentials. What are your you have 2 big letters behind your name. Which certificates do you have?
Yes. So I have my PHR as well as my SHRM CP.
Okay.
Yes.
And then most recently, you have acquired what degree?
Yeah, so I finally went back to college and finished what I started in the first place. After high school, I went off to school, the usual thing. When you're 18, you go off to school.
And you graduated from a very fancy all-girls school in Dallas. Yes. So it was one of those things where went off to college, experienced a few traumatic experiences and traumatic events. And I said to myself, school will always be there. I won't. Yeah.
I won't.
Wow.
And that's just how dark things were for me after those experiences. And I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to do what's best for me. And I also decided to keep a lot secret. And I know that was the best thing to do for myself. I don't think that should be everyone's, response. I don't think that's a one-size-fits-all solution, but it for sure worked for me. I was so young and I needed to feel like I had control over something again. I needed to feel like I had control over what my life was going to be, whether I ended up regretting that decision or not. Thankfully, I don't regret it. I don't regret it. So as soon as I got my stabilities, I came back to Dallas, got a job, that paid pennies. And I was just like, okay, we're doing this. My family was outraged,
Yeah.
to say the least, because they didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, they didn't know what happened.
They didn't know what happened. And the reason that I hesitated and really shut down and kind of put up a wall with that is I don't believe in spreading hurt. I knew it was a painful experience for me, but my parents are the most Papa Bear, Mama Bear parents on the planet. And there's something that could have gone completely wrong, completely wrong. And I wouldn't have had options anymore.
Right.
They would have definitely been more pleased to see me go that legal route and all of those things. And I just knew that would hurt their heart so badly. And I said, why spread hurt?
Yeah.
If I'm already having to deal with it, let me just deal with it. So got connected with a fantastic therapist that had specific qualifications with dealing with trauma. And I said, I'm going to be there every other week. If I'm going through a hard time every week, I'm going to put in that work internally so I can show up as my best self. So when you say the serving and leading and doing all of these things simultaneously while healing, that was very helpful for me because that was something I was in control of, and I felt that I was having a positive impact in those areas and still having that. And I knew that it was just the right move for me.
Yeah.
I didn't want this hoopla, this stereotypical college story being that scarlet letter for me.
Yeah.
I don't ever blame anyone that has experienced sexual harassment or sexual assault for doing what they think is right.
Yeah.
So if they want to go that route, the legal route, I'm totally for you, rooting you on. I'm there with you. I'm holding your hand. If you decide not to, I'm there for you as well. And thankfully at that time, I had a lot of friends. I had a few friends that had similar experiences as I did. Some not quite, that hadn't at the time. And they helped me feel normal.
Yeah.
They made me feel like myself. And I am forever indebted to them for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the things that I'm able to bring into the workplace that I genuinely believe I can only be as good as what I've experienced.
Yeah, and we know also from that same data set, and thank you for sharing everything that you've just shared, as far as bringing your experience into the workplace, 45% of American women have survived contact sexual violence in their life, and 1 in 6 men.
Yes.
And so for you to own your voice as a survivor in your very important work in human resources gives you a level of empathy and a value that could never be duplicated, really.
Absolutely. I would say that's something that I very much so take pride in my work. Because it bleeds over into other topics as well, but the more life experience you have, you're able to show up so differently for people because it's all people stuff.
Yeah.
So the best people, the better you can be at your job.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It's not like Toby on The Office, like where Michael Scott just like, man, he was the HR guy, and that show really kind of put a cloud around HR, I think, in a funny but dark way.
Absolutely. Right? Listen, how HR is portrayed on television. I'm like, call me to write a script, okay?
Yeah.
Because this is not really how it is. I mean, and even, I know you're on TikTok, I'll be scrolling and I'm like, I didn't expect to catch a stray. I'm scrolling and I'm seeing this anti-HR rhetoric, over and over again. And I'm like, people should absolutely protect themselves. I even tell employees, hey, document what you want to document. If your boss is keeping documentation, I'm keeping documentation, better believe you should be too.
Yeah.
And I say that outright. Document it. That's your right.
Yep.
That's your right.
It's also your healing, you know,
Oh,
like you
yeah.
described so beautifully. Really, the only thing a survivor can control is their voice. What you say, who you say it to, and how much you tell. And,
Yes.
you know, for a survivor in the workplace, like you just said, document. It's making a record and beginning to exercise the truth about what's happened to you.
Yes. And the reality of it, that isn't necessarily the best part of it. This is the part that's
Yeah.
critiqued so much, is when there are situations that someone is coming to you and saying these things have happened. If you don't have documentation, it's very difficult to move forward.
Yeah.
So I've had, you know, especially early on in my career, I had a particular situation that they were so upset with everything, they deleted contact, deleted text threads, because I mean, well, we've all been in a situation where we swipe delete a text
Yeah.
thread because we're pissed, right? And like that happens. And imagine an emotionally charged moment. You've deleted every bit of
Yeah.
evidence, and that's where also I partner with attorneys to say what we need in order to prove such a thing,
Right.
or connect that employee with someone, because representation is your right.
Right. Right.
That's it. We're in America. That's
Yeah.
your right. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
your right. You know, I think I have a lot of employees that come to me and say things like, I'm not talking to you. You're not here for me. I need to talk to just my attorney.
You're not the police. I mean, come on.
And I say, hey, you absolutely should reach out to that person. Absolutely. Representation is your right.
Right.
That is your right. That is your right. So you get very surprised
Yeah.
when I say, yeah. And if you want someone that even isn't an attorney, isn't a lawyer, you can have any representation.
Right.
You are, that is your right to have any representation.
So, you know, if I'm an employee and let's say, you know, I'm real sensitive about chain of command. You know, let's say someone goes around me, you know, for the 7th time, and, you know, they're underneath me in the chain of command, and I've just had enough. And it's also in the meantime triggering a lot of unresolved trauma, you know, wounds from the past. And I come in and I'm just like shaking. Like I don't know how much longer. Your approach is to de-escalate. You're like a hostage negotiator, right? Like your voice. You're allowed to have someone. Like, tell me, what's your approach to just that frenzied, on the edge temperament?
So I'm a little bit less conventional when it comes to this. I call it the hootin' and hollering, especially in a conflict resolution, especially when I'm mediating. I say, get it out.
Ooh.
Sometimes you have to have that outlet.
Yeah.
Even if it is towards that person. And especially if I'm dealing with a leader, I say, hey, sometimes you gotta let people just unleash a little bit in a controlled environment, right? Because you don't want it to just get into a yelling match. But I will coach my leader and say, before this, if hooting and hollering starts, just go with it. Let them naturally calm down. Because when everyone else has a calm demeanor in the room and you feel listened to,
Yes.
then you stop hollering.
Yes.
So let the hollering start, and just trust the process that will be brought down. And thankfully, I'm batting 1,000. I'm batting
Wow.
1,000. I'm batting 1,000 with those because get it out. Get it out.
So I assume you're not recording these conversations.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I want everyone
Yeah,
also,
yeah.
I'm not a proponent for recording
Right.
anything. I know some people like to record for their own protection and things like that, but I want it to be a safer space
Yeah.
for all parties, and not to act a donkey, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
not to act
yeah.
a donkey, but knowing the vulnerability that takes place and the vulnerability that doesn't happen and the walls that come up
Yeah.
when it is recorded.
So it sounds to me like you have been an outcry witness. The
Yes.
person who is told the thing that is hurting the person. I'm using that very broadly. My book is
Yes.
Outcry Witness. It's really about sexual assault. But in the workplace, it sounds like you are that person who witnesses the pain that the other person is feeling, and you communicate to the other person that I see you.
Mm-hmm.
You're real. You're a person.
Yes.
Yes. How does that fill you up or not?
Yeah, sometimes it can be difficult, right? It can be very difficult. It can be, because you don't want to just be sitting there with an employee and crying your eyes out because of something that happened to them. It's like, I'm not the victim. This isn't about me. And, there's those things that happen for sure. But it is very fulfilling for me to be a person that people trust at that level, whether they feel like they're taking a gamble by coming to me, because some do, especially if it's first time, they haven't had prior experiences with me to understand my style and my approach. So it is actually extremely fulfilling to be trusted as that person. The same way that when a friend calls you and says, I'm in need, and you're able to actually help. I'm in a position to actually help. And to potentially get rid of the problem.
Yeah.
The only thing that I feel like, especially when it comes to sexual harassment and sexual assault, is it can only go as far as that victim wants it to go.
That's so true.
I am never going to over-report things that are outside of their comfort. Because I know that feeling of sometimes you just want out, you want to go quietly in the night.
And, to your point, you have there's this beautiful article from the University of North Texas, Dallas, where your dad was, he was able to participate in your commencement ceremony.
Yes.
And you disclosed in this article for the first time why you went back to get your degree, and you disclosed that it was an assault.
Yeah.
And
a hate crime.
And a hate crime that set off, an alternate trajectory of your life. How did it feel saying that for the first time to this reporter?
Woo. It was extremely cathartic. I will say I was very happy with the work that I did with my therapist prior. I had told my therapist that I wanted one day to be able to tell my story in a way that felt like reporting the news.
Oh.
And he was like, that's not what we're looking for. He was like, that's not what we're looking for. I want you to feel comfortable feeling your feelings. If you feel emotional, let that out, express that. And I was like, it's more for me. And I was like, okay, maybe I explained it in a terrible way.
I get it. I get it.
And I said, I really just want to get to a place where I'm at peace with the way that things happened. And I'm not living in that space of regret.
Right.
So I have that peace that I know I did what was right for me, no matter who felt otherwise.
Right.
No matter who felt otherwise, because I got a lot of comments of just suck it up, just graduate, and that's the best way to have that payback. I couldn't afford that at that time.
No.
I couldn't afford it. My mental health was, woo,
Yeah.
below ground. I mean, I wasn't even building from ground zero. I was in a negative. I was emotionally in a negative. So going back to school, that night of the day of my graduation, when we had dinner as a family, is when I actually shared my story, because the article came out at the same time.
Tell me
so
about
I
that.
said, well, this article is happening, so I might as well go ahead and let everybody know this is about to be printed in black and white.
Now, the article just says assault.
It does.
So tell me about what you shared with your family that night.
It does, yeah. So I ended up telling my family, my closest friends, and my biggest supporters, because I only had people there that have rooted for me. You know, when you're crossing a stage at 35, you know, you end up saying, I don't need all the bells and whistles of everything. But I ended up just sharing. I went through more than you all know. And I shared my story, and I said, I just hope that you're not upset with me for keeping it from you. And I gave my reasons of, I just didn't want to spread hurt, and I needed to feel in control. So everyone had their feelings. But I think overall there was a lot of love and a lot of understanding, and quietly they knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
They knew something was wrong. They just couldn't put their finger on it. Mm-hmm. And that was not a time for me for tough love. And my family can definitely give that tough love. In certain periods of my life, it was wonderful. For that, I was just so delicate. I was so fragile. So I just had to disengage in that way and say, I'm going to deal with this over here in this with a professional.
Right.
With a professional.
So you were going through therapy, slaying your dragons, as you beautifully described in this article. But at the same time, you were building your expertise and your career in human resources.
Yes. And serving on my first boards.
Yeah.
And I mean, I keep 2 to 3 boards that I'm on at once. I always say I'm not married and I don't have kids, so I have the time.
Yeah,
You know, we're dealing with Beyonce's 24 hours in a day.
I love it. But you know what? You make it look like the life. I mean,
well,
you really do. You do.
I appreciate that. And I do have a lot of fun with it. Quite a bit of fun with it. But yeah, I always tell people, I've slayed dragons, but I also slay looks.
Yeah, you do.
So, you know, so that's why even an organization that I am newly a board member of called DIFA, Design Industry.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Design Industry Foundation Fighting AIDS. You know, I get to dress up and be this little black Barbie that of my dreams.
You really are. I mean,
my dreams.
There has never been a time that I've laid eyes upon you where I wasn't just completely floored by your beauty.
Oh, I mean, truly. That. I appreciate that so much.
And everything. It's just immaculate all the time.
I appreciate that. And I like for people to know that no matter what traumatic experiences you go through, whether it is sexual assault, sexual harassment, whether it's just something crushing that happens to you, you can get to where I am.
Yeah.
You can get to where I am. My confidence is high. My self-worth is high. It's high. Look, that might be why I'm not married, but that's okay. That's okay. My self-worth is very high. And I know my value at this stage, and that is invaluable.
Amen.
Yeah, it's invaluable. So I like to really encourage people in that way of saying, trust me, when you do the work, there is such
Right.
up. It's not just a light at the end of the tunnel. It's the sun.
It is.
It's the
Amen.
sun. It is the
Deliverance.
sun on your skin. It is just the ultimate healing.
It is. And, I feel like I don't feel like, I know so many survivors believe that they're ruined.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't ever remember until my book until I figured it out, the sun on the skin. I don't remember anyone ever telling me you can heal from this. It's like a new thing that we're having to communicate.
Yeah. It used to feel like a scarlet letter.
Right.
I know when I went through it, and that was 2010, 2011, when I experienced it, it was very much so. I don't want to be in a newspaper article without my consent. I don't want to be this person where there's whisperings on campus. And I thought to myself, I don't want to be forced out of anything. If I decide to leave, I want that to be my choice. I don't want to feel forced out of anything. And that was the real challenge. And then add a extra layer that my father was on the board of that school. So there were a lot of politics involved. And I didn't want my dad to get in the mix of that and feel like he had to put on that cape and put on that armor and get out there defending me in that manner. I know he would have wanted to.
Yeah.
I know he would have wanted to, but it would have, to me, it would have ruined even more.
Yeah.
Because he would have done irrevocable harm.
Sounds like your dad was like,
in the name of me.
Shotgun and a shovel kind of deal.
I'm just saying, when it comes to me, thankfully, I can genuinely say Albert and Gwenny do not play about me. They do not play about me. So, and neither do my brothers. So I just didn't want to put them in that position, especially while I was so topsy-turvy, just not grounded, everything felt like a fever dream.
Yeah.
In the worst way.
Right.
In the worst way.
You described the injury so well, and it is an injury.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's an injury. It's an injury.
It happened in the past, but it's very much with you.
Yeah, the same way that, say you break a leg, right? If you break your leg, you have to go through physical therapy for some time.
Yeah.
Right? You got to rebuild those muscles. Things have to fuse together. You have to trust your body.
Yeah.
You have to trust your body, but you have to do that work.
Wow.
And it's the exact same when it comes to internal battles that we face on a regular basis. Because as you quoted, these numbers are high.
Very high.
These numbers are high. And that's in the workplace, let alone our youth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 1 in 4 little girls, and the CDC is saying 1 in 20 little boys, but I can't believe that's accurate.
It's underreporting.
Yeah, underreporting for sure.
It's underreporting because there's shame that there's a lot of shame for young men and for adult men to share their experience.
Have you seen that in the workplace?
Absolutely.
How does that?
Absolutely.
How does that play out?
I've seen it manifest in the workplace in some of the worst ways.
Really?
Because they don't want to do anything. They feel like that is a hit on their masculinity if they say this sexual touch was unwanted.
Wow.
It should be more this machismo, she wanted me, and that should be some sort of trophy versus violating your personal body.
Wow.
So that's something that I would love to see change.
Yeah.
Quickly.
And to your point, I've been working with some of the survivors of the Boy Scouts of America bankruptcy, and they
Oh, that's tough. That's a tough job.
yeah,
That's a tough job.
they've all been silenced by this bankruptcy.
Yeah.
They thought they were signing up for a class action lawsuit where they would get to give a victim impact statement, and instead they're basically just widgets, to a bankruptcy system. So what what you've done with your voice and choosing to tell, and how you've managed it from a PR perspective is really a beautiful thing that you've been able to do that.
I appreciate that. I say it's been a long journey. I mean, as I said, this was 2010, and it was a long time ago. So for me to go back to school after that many years and kind of close that loop, but that was the last thing that I felt was taken away from me. So that's really what empowered me is, I did it. I went back, I finished it. So now, release.
Yeah.
And that was just such a beautiful thing to share with my family and friends. Yeah.
And it's a beautiful article.
Thank you.
Really a beautiful article. And I'm so glad you shared that with me. And one thing that, knowing you for a while now having that context, I just want to say how remarkable it is that you have been able to serve other people in the workplace, your boards, the community, your family, while at the same time repairing the injury. So how has service helped you survive?
You know what? Service has helped me survive in so many ways. I was raised, even my great grandmother that I was named after believed in that sense of community and that it takes a village. And if you can help the person next to you, do so, and do so expeditiously. And do so expeditiously. So very blessed to have a family that centered community and service. And that it wasn't a chore or a checklist or, Junior League telling me I have to do 60 hours or 100 hours or what have you in checking the boxes. It has genuinely been giving those pieces of myself and assisting someone in their repair.
Yeah.
Even if it's not the same as my repair. Sometimes it's unsheltered. Sometimes it is just living in the middle of a food desert and not being able to put food on the table. Being able to serve at that capacity has been so fulfilling because it's a part of me assisting in making someone whole. The same way that my friends that I told my story were able to pour into me and help make me whole. So that has been, it's just a huge part of my DNA. It's in me, I always say I'm not new to this. I'm true to this.
Oh, I love that.
So, it goes back to even days at Hockaday with Jeannie Lobby, that was our head of community service I was a sixth grader, like, okay, let me make sure you're fed. Let me get these boxes together. What all do you like? I don't want you to be leaving this food pantry with something you don't like, because that's what ends up happening so many times. It's like people are just packing bags and they're not saying, who's my customer? Who's my client? What do they need?
Right.
What do they need? So that has been impactful. And now that I've, got a little tenure in seniority these days of being 35 and have been active on boards for over, about 10 years now. It has been incredible to just have those full circle moments to now sit on the boards of the places that I used to volunteer as a child. And to support at that big and be a part of the strategic portions and to give my experience and my testimony on on what it was like to volunteer there as a child.
Oh, how beautiful.
You know? So those are the moments that are really fulfilling,
Well,
fulfilling and worthwhile.
Since we're on the topic, you know, today is a special day.
Yes, Juneteenth.
Yes.
Yes.
So, you know, is this the first time sitting here with me that you've really openly discussed what you survived in college?
Yes.
So, do you feel free?
I feel free. I feel
Yes.
free. It's an incredible feeling to just have things out there because it is a secret, right? We all have what my dad would say. You have your personal life, you have your private life, and some of us have a secret life. For a long time, I had a secret life. So to feel that secret is no longer there, I'm able to be a lot more joyful.
Yeah.
I'm able to feel less of a burden of secrets. I don't like secrets. I was like, I tell people all the time, I haven't lied since I was 22. I haven't lied since I was 22. But the levity that it brings you, it's just priceless. It's just priceless. So yes, when you asked what dates I was available, and you were like, "Well, Juneteenth is the holiday," I was like, "This is a perfect time to do it."
It's
Because I'm
beautiful.
free. Because I'm free. And that is something, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's just your personal experience outside of work, it's very important to lean into the fact that you are free. You are an autonomous human being. Do what you need to do for yourself because you have the right to do so. You have the freedoms to do so. Do it.
Amen.
If that means you want to move somewhere for a little while, have a different air that you're breathing, that's not running away. So many people see that as running away from their problems. No, it's not. No, it's not. Sometimes you have to give your central nervous system a chance to recalibrate.
Yeah.
Mine took way too long. I don't like how long mine took. I don't like how long that took for me, But I knew I needed to get home. I knew I needed to be around as much love as possible and in an environment that things could be poured into me and I could pour into others.
Yeah.
And that was home.
It is such a joy listening to you share this and to be a part of your free experience today on Juneteenth. I mean, your life story is so beautiful and what you have achieved while looking perfect and, being in this wonderful family. And, I just never knew that you were healing also. And, you just did a beautiful job of owning your life on your own terms. And now you are telling the truth on TV.
Yes.
Just like you always wanted.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what happens. And I encourage any and everyone that's struggling with trauma and healing to really keep that in mind. Keep in mind, do what you need to do for yourself. That's the part for me that I will never regret. Never regret. So there's beauty in that.
So much beauty.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Cora. I have really enjoyed our time together.
Me too.
You were just really such a leader, like for everybody in Dallas and beyond.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. This was so much fun.
Thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much for being here for this really, really impactful conversation with Cora Black. Her life, she made an impact on me today. It's Juneteenth. Let's just be so grateful that a woman can sit here and be free with another woman, and we can both tell the truth in 2026. Thanks again for being here, and we'll see you next time.